recording now, and recording's in progress. And guys, I'm gonna go ahead and say, if at the end of this you don't feel comfortable with it, I will not post it. I'm a man of my integrity, and I'm glad that you guys get on here. We have Heather Roberts. I understand you are the VP or the president of Naked Truth. Is that what it was? Or Paul, you were the president of Naked Truth?
Correct. Paul is the president.
Okay, Paul's the president, and then Heather. Now, I remember way back when, I'm going to revisit some of the past briefly, if you guys don't mind. I personally think that you didn't have a fair shake, like I said, into the community. I personally spoke with Wes when this all started. I reached out to him originally because I was telling him there's trouble of brewing. People were talking already. I was a part of that kind of gatekeeping community on Twitter. And I was concerned because I was like, look, they're starting to attack this Chad person already in advance. What's going on? And he actually responded back to me. It shocked me. He actually wanted to talk to me, and he called me. And Wes and I talked on the phone. His dad is a Marine, was a Marine fighter pilot. And so we had a connection. And he told me, he says, Mike, I think you should be a part of what we're doing. And I was not at the time, I was kind of uncomfortable with the idea. I said, look, I don't even know what's going on. I just know the way it's being presented is not being taken well, and it's getting slammed into the dirt. And I know everybody went crazy. They had that space call. They ripped Chad apart, that individual. And I don't think enough information really came out of what you guys were, who you were. I think some of these gatekeepers in the community created stories. Unfortunately, Chad did have like this background that they found, and they wanted to pursue him. And it got crazy. The conspiracies about who Heather was, who Paul was. I mean, I seen in some back channels, some GM chat groups, I saw some crazy stuff going on at the time, trying to investigate who are these people. And I got to tell you, 2 years later, after watching, and then Heather and I talked almost a year ago too, I think there's more to it. I think you guys, what you're doing and what you're attempting sounds like something that a lot of us want. We want to make a difference in the market. And I know you tried before, Paul, with a space call. You tried to get on there, I believe, and you were going to try to speak. Those particular gatekeepers shut you down to a degree. I remember being a part of that. And so I just want to give you a chance to tell us a little bit about you. I want to know more, like how you got created, why you got created, and what you guys' mission is. Like, what do you really want to see happen? If you don't mind, I mean, just kind of like the creation. How did you guys get involved in Naked Truth?
I'll let you go first, Heather.
Okay.
Basically it started as being an individual investor, my husband and myself, and he came home one day and said, hey, there's a GoFundMe for Wes Christian. And we happened to be Wes Christian followers after he had been on CNBC and described the car title. And I said, yeah, that's exactly what I'm seeing going on in the market right now. So in 2020, that was pretty interesting to me. I did a GoFundMe donation and also put in my information as a licensed investigator and let them know, hey, if there's anything additional you may need, I'll be glad to step up and donate my time. And I got a call from Chad. Chad contacted me. I contacted Wes to find out if Chad was real. Wes did call me. We had a long, extensive conversation about the market, about what this was all about. And he asked me to please come on board. And as an individual investor into several different stocks and an investigator too, seeing what was transpiring, of course I wanted to be part of it. And that's literally how I became part of Naked Truth.
And for my story, a fellow AMC investor was like, hey, you got to check out this Discord. There's this Chad guy. He wants to hire Wes. And so I checked it out, sent a message trying to verify if it was real, what was going on here. Chad reached back. Then I kind of sent an email to Wes, much like everybody else. Hey, is this guy for real? And then from there, just kind of followed it. And then I saw the hits Chad was taking due to his background. And then after that, it kind of, made me question it. But I saw he had the great intent and what he wanted to accomplish. There's so many other people out there that talked about doing something about the manipulation, about hiring Wes, but no one actually pulled the trigger. And this guy did. So that was very intriguing. And then he had a military background and, everything he stood for, wanting change. And so I wanted to get involved and do something because, like a lot of other investors, was pretty upset with what was going on in the market and Robinhood at the time, just the shadiness that was going on there. And So that really got me heated to want to make change and do something. And as our average guy, like, what can I do? But seeing other average people from across the country come together for the greater good, that really was inspiring. And to your question about the space call where I was getting attacked, this is all new frontier for everybody. And it was like all the great intentions, but it seemed like the mindset of certain investors was opposed to what we were trying to do, which is understandable. Something new, something hasn't been done. But what I was asking was like, hey, give us time. Let us show you what we're about. Give us the chance to put out information, help educate people, help try and make a difference before you judge us. And it was like the verdict was already cast. But, we just kept our head down, barreling forward, putting out info, trying to help educate. And we just hope that, in the end, people would notice what we were trying to accomplish and get on board and support us. And, that's kind of been, the cross we've been bearing ever since, just trying to put out good information, make a difference, and hopefully people will realize that the intention in our hearts are true and valid, and they can get behind that.
Well, I will tell you guys, I understand what that experience is like. I know last year, and it's funny you say Chad's a vet. Side note, I don't want to get carried away, but a lot of the vets in this movement, I say there's up to 30% of them that have bought into the mem stock AMC GME movement, especially in AMC. A lot of veterans in there. And it seems like a lot of veterans have come forward, like myself and others, to do things. We are people of action, and they got kicked back, every single one of them, including myself. So I know exactly what you're explaining. And that's why finally, after all this time, I'm like, what, if I can be a voice for them, because, for anybody that's willing, because these folks are showing they want to take action. And I think that was the biggest thing. We had voices, individual investors who know what they were. I was in that group. I know some of them. I saw it. They want to shut things down, whether it was out of fear that, the stock would get delisted, all these other stories and things that were made up. I just after hearing it for so long, I'm like, man, there's something more sinister behind this. We have an issue that's happening right in front of us. We have a crime that has been taking place for God knows how long, and it's robbing people. It's robbing you, me, the average working class people. We're supposed to be the 99%, right? Versus the 1%. We're not acting like it. We're fighting each other. The division is huge, man. I mean, it just grew. And like I said, I was started to withdraw from it, and I've created enemies all over the place because Marines, we don't tend to get in line anymore because we got in line once, and that ended up well, it ended up. But regardless, I'm glad that you guys have stuck it out. I think that's the other thing, guy. The fact that you're still here, the insults, the things that occurred to you guys, and the things that were said to you without proof. And that was the thing about it. I was just talking to someone on Twitter today that was going back reminiscing. And I'm like, guys, you realize there was never any real proof? Like, it was all stories made up and information that people got by specific gatekeepers. I know who they are. And it spread like wildfire based on the fact everybody's afraid that you're here to stop the squeeze, or you're here to stop them from making money. And I don't think that's the truth. And just hearing how you got in was one thing that was important to me. I want to know how you got in. Because see, for me, I did the same thing. I wanted to start an organization. I had people like you that came together, like-minded folks. We started to develop it. They bailed. There's a whole long story to it because I decided to point out some issues that were going on. But I also stayed away from it because I saw the attacks and I'm like, man, it's like nobody wants to do anything to help. Like, what's going on here? Why is it being squished and squashed? Why are people shutting it down? And I seen it recently a while back. I started testing the waters. I'm like, there's only one way that the government listens in my mind, because they're the ones that make the decisions, the Congress, right? Is when they see enough people stand up against them. And so I started talking about January 28, 2023, a day of recognition. I just want to get people off of social media. I want to get the world to see that we exist. And my God, did I get beat up. I mean, just tore apart. And see, I'm not afraid of it. I'm not scared to take the heat. They can cuss and call me names. I've been called every name in the book, just like you guys have. Put down. And the thing is you're still here. You're still speaking, because in my mind, if you're still here and you're still doing it, it's because there's in that heart is a conviction. And like I told people today, if there's conviction in somebody and they actually believe in something, all the arrows and bombs and attacks and crap you want to throw, it ain't going to amount to nothing. So I just put that out there for all the folks that are listening in. When you do listen to this and you want to attack folks like this, you want to attack folks like me or any of these other people, it came from somewhere. It came from in here. we came in here that we wanted to make change, and there ain't nothing wrong with making change. And I hope that folks can get behind people like these guys, Naked Truth Info, these two sitting right here, and whoever else is involved. And, you know, we can make a difference, guys. It's literally the 99% versus the 1%. It's not us fighting each other. And that's what I find ridiculous. So now let me ask you this, if you guys don't mind. There was a big issue. This is where the trust factor comes in. You two actually had nothing to do with the GoFundMe originally. That was Chad, and he was probably connected to some other people. He probably got an idea. He's a vet, so I imagine it's something I would do. Got an idea. He put it together. He had people that bought into it, obviously. They built it up. There was I think 115,000 or something. I don't know the exact numbers. There was a lot put together. And then that was introduced, and they brought it over to Twitter, because Twitter seems to be the central hub to a degree. And they brought it over, and then you guys stepped in. So that money needed to be rolled into like an actual organization. This is the way I understood it from Wes. You know, there has to be an organization to handle the money, a nonprofit, to handle the money, and then be able to utilize the money to hire him to start the process. Is that correct? Because I want to make sure I understood it.
Well, I'm the treasurer, and what transpired, I've also been treasurer of other state organizations, and I've handled funds like this. When I stepped in and when everything was brought to the table, I understood basically when Chad was attacked, which I was not part of that. I didn't know any of that even transpired. I didn't know his background. All I did was make a call to Wes to find out if this guy was real. And that's how I got involved in this movement. And I found that during that attack for that 2 days during the weekend, that people reported to the GoFundMe, and that's how it got shut down for fraud and locked down. So there was nothing. All they could do was refund. So all of the refunds were submitted. And at this time, we were assembling a board. Well, with my background, the very first thing with me as an investigator is we need transparency. I'm dealing with someone that has a background. I'm a little nervous. I have my own corporation. I'm a licensed investigator. I'm also on a state board with state investigators that have large companies. I need to find out who I'm affiliated with. So I want to make sure in the bylaws that we have background checks for everyone. And so that's literally what was transpiring. So in order for the money, everything had to be refunded by those who requested a refund. That transpired. Wes wrote a contract, which that was already in order for the funds to be released, the money had to be paid for the contract to be hired for Wes, because that's what the funds were raised for. That took place, but it also had to be released to a nonprofit. So in turn, those that stepped up, which is Paul, myself, Chad was there, a couple other people, we were maneuvering all around, having space calls with Wes. And all of the refunds were being transacted. When everything was completed and no more refunds were being processed and they were done and no more were coming through, 30 days had to go by, then it was transferred over to Naked Truth. And that's literally how that took place. We did do backgrounds. That was a third party that came in and did backgrounds. The backgrounds were put on the table for the board to all review for transparency, not just for us, but also for the entire community. And Chad voluntarily stepped down. We felt that it was not in our best interest to move forward. It was going to pick us apart, and it would stop us in our tracks, and it would hurt the community and the movement. And he voluntarily stepped down. It wasn't, a movement by anyone. The refunds were issued. Wes was hired. We were elated. We started trying to create websites. We thought we were part of this wonderful movement. So when we did get on the space call and we were attacked so harshly, it was pretty shocking. It kind of stopped us in our tracks. Wes did warn us. He said certain things, that your life will probably be threatened, your business will be attacked. These were things that I was prepared for. I was not prepared for what I got on Twitter, and by those that had not donated a dime, nor would they put forth an effort we're hiding behind a fake name. So yeah, that was an issue for me. That's why I fell silent. And but I remained steadfast and supportive of the movement. And when I say movement, it's not just AMC, it's the whole entire Wall Street. We've got the whole entire lesson through Wes. It's appalling what's transpiring right now with GTII. We're aware of all of that background. We know what he does. We've seen his cases. Paul has put an immense amount of information on the website for people to be educated of the cases and how they handle it. Or I've done the stream form. I've done videos with Lucy and David and Wes. I'm the one that did that video and put it on YouTube. And we're here to educate. We're here to say, hey, this is not new. This has been going on since the 90s. And Wes has been fighting it since the 90s. This is not about Wes. This is not about naked truth. This is about the corruption that's transpiring with Wall Street and the government. That's what this is about.
So for
this is about exposure.
Correct. And that's what I love, because it's more than AMC.
Absolutely.
For Wes to, I mean, obviously, I don't know. He hasn't done anything since then with the whole AMC side. Would that be correct?
No, the $25,000 that we paid to Wes for a retainer, that was mandated because that's what the funds were raised for. So right. That didn't make any sense to me when the community came at us and attacked us in the fact of why did we hire Wes? I'm like, that's literally what the funds were donated for, were to hire Wes Christian. That's literally what the wording was. So in order for the funds to be released after all of the refunds were processed, you had to hire Wes, or it's fraud and illegal to raise the funds through GoFundMe with that terminology by not hiring Wes. So Wes was provided and paid a retainer and a contract signed with him, and the movement immediately cut us at our knees and attacked Wes and attacked us as a board and each individual of us and our corporations. And we became neutral, and we just watched exactly what Wes told us would happen.
And if I can add about the criticism on that space call in the beginning, in a way, criticism also can be good because it gives us feedback. It lets us know what the community is concerned with, and then what we do from there, I would hope, shows our good intent, because we took, I think, 29 questions that over those hours of the space call that was the most concerning. We presented it to Wes. We had that then printed out, put up on the website so people could, these questions like, well, will the stock be halted? And never in the history of any cases, I think it's over 30 that Wes has participated in. And I think most one that were concluded never happened. So it's like all these false narratives that people were sharing and spreading fear. We helped lay those to rest, put it on the website with other questions. Hopefully that would kind of narrow down concerns. Now, did people go there, after the bashing? We don't know, but all we can do is say, hey, we heard your concerns. We put them up there. Please, do your homework and research on your own. Don't just believe what certain, like you say, gatekeepers are selling. And so we tried to do that. Then there's a shareholder letter, John Doe letter, if you will, to a potentially manipulated company. We worked with Wes on that. David A. Wenger, the head of Share Intel, we put together a nice, easy letter any concerned investor could just print out, fill in their name. We went ahead and had, I think it was about 9 or 10 companies, their information of officers, headquarters, where to contact. If you felt that as an investor, potentially one of these top rated companies potentially naked shorted, or that have been heavily shorted, because I think a lot of people in the community know the companies that are. Well, we're helping assemble this information for you, free of charge, putting it out there. And then, kind of like a dream, or I imagined, these CEOs of these potentially naked shorted companies having these big postal boxes just dumped of letters from investors on the table, just spawning, falling off the desk, a call to arms, action. And, maybe that would motivate them to look into Share Intel, because while it is a great opportunity and we feel could embark change in a manipulated stock market, it also takes the other side, if you will, the company implementing it. So if they're not on board, it can't make a change. And so we're hoping that enough people would be outraged and upset to, we've done the groundwork, just print, fill out, and send off. And, it's with everybody's help coming together, not being divided, that we can maybe get some change. So, we just keep putting this out there and hope people get on board.
And it's great. It's great that you brought that up. That was going to be a question I was going to ask you, because I'm actually highly interested in understanding a little more clarity behind Share Intel. I had put out a YouTube video way back when, kind of proposing, because I caught one statement in there that kind of got me a little sideways back then. I hate to say it, I was under the conspiracy wing too. Like, how many people are out to get us, all these fake bots and all this other stuff. So I was a part of it. I don't want to say that I wasn't. But over time, I think time reveals all. And so I am highly interested in Share Intel. There's a couple of people on Twitter that have reached out to me and been talking to me for quite a while. There's an individual that was supposed to be working with you guys. You guys were originally going to do a space call, but I think some people got sick. You were going to do a space call about the Share Intel.
Yes, we will still be moving forward with that with Wes and David.
Okay. But we do have that long interview, I believe, with Wes and David about Share Intel, and that's
right. We're going to do a live. Wes was opposed to live for a while after the huge attack, and then after the secondary attack personally on him, he was not really had zero interest in participating on Twitter.
I don't blame him. I don't blame him.
Yeah, he has now accepted the invite to come on as Naked Truth being the moderator, and moving forward with that and do a live space call. I explained to him it is really important for the community to be able to ask questions in a live forum. He's okay with that now. He had some big cases he was working through November, so he said December. And yes, my father passed away, so that space call did get delayed last month. So we were looking for something for next week, but it has kind of gotten a little late for this week, so we're not really sure. He was out of town this entire week. But David and Wes will be doing a space call with us regarding Share Intel, and also regarding the market itself.
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious. He's crazy inside. I'm a natural salesperson, a sales trainer, and I'm like, my brain goes to how to present, right? How do you present this to a buyer? Because that's what you're trying to do. You want to get this person to clearly understand it. And that's one of the things why I reached out to Wes way back when. I'm like, you got this Chad guy, you got these people trying to present something. It's going south, don't present it that way. And so the whole Share Intel, when I heard David and Wes talking, I saw the interview and I made my video based off the interview too. And it's like, the idea is phenomenal in my head. It's like, well, wait a minute. It's like creating a secondary police force and an idea that can kind of watch after a company's stocks, really check and see what's happening. Because it is beyond evident that they are doing this to a lot of companies. I mean, we just saw this new biotech company. It's got me fired up. This is a brain cancer company, and they're getting they're getting shorted. I went back and looked at their numbers, and I'm like, God, at one point they were over $100 a share. Now they're like 80 some odd cents, or 87 earlier I looked. They got beat down from 2006. Or screen just popped up to warn me. Just got beat down from 2016 all the way through 2000 and now basically. He just disintegrated, and it's like, this is going on. There's TV shows that talk about it. There's movies, like
Yeah, Wes, when I first spoke with Wes, we spent about an hour and a half on the phone, and as an investigator, I could not wrap my head around when he talked about worldwide trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars being stolen from people. At that time, there was no concept in my head of that. As time has gone by, I absolutely see 100% what he was talking about. I've directed my focus on that. So when people are now bringing up spoofing and naked shorting and everything else, I've already studied that and gone back and sat with Wes, and this is what Wes knows like the back of his hand. So, I mean, he knows. I mean, he doesn't look, this is no surprise for Wes. He's just like, yeah, okay. This is all normal. This is his territory. So when I spoke with him and hearing trillions and trillions and trillions out of his mouth and from years ago saying, hey, this is happening worldwide and this is not new, then you just kind of go, well, now you go, oh yeah, absolutely, I get it now. And you see 2008, you see the protesters. When you were speaking about, next month, my husband, actually, last month before my father passed away, we were looking at flights to go to Washington and also go to New York. And we were actually going to stand in front of the bull and go, Occupy at that time, 2022, day one. Okay. Alone, just for the sheer principle of just being a voice and saying, hey, we see you. We see you. We see the New York Stock Exchange. We see Citadel Securities. We see the money market. We see ICE. We see the algorithms. We see what's transpiring with the New York Stock Exchange and the difference in the NASDAQ. We see different levels that others haven't even delved into. And the self-regulation and documents and the PDFs that we have on file that we haven't even put onto Naked Truth. But, like you state, it is a voice. And the biggest tool that they have been able to implement is to divide us. Because when we were numbers at the beginning, it did make a change. It did make a difference. But they were able to divide the community. And they were very successful in that. And that is why they are winning.
Well, I'm gonna tell you right now, I put out a tweet earlier today. My convictions to expose is much higher than my worries about Twitter beefs anymore, my worries about the fights, my worries about popularity or how much I can make on YouTube, any of that. It doesn't matter to me anymore. And I said, folks, you don't have to like me. That's not why I'm doing this. And I'm gonna start talking to people like I'm doing with you guys. All this stuff that divided us, I'm after it. And I'm going to talk to people that I attacked. I'm trying to go back in time and go, wait a minute, why did I attack them? What was it for? Why was I divided? Why was I so angry against technically our own people? What was the motive behind it? And like I said, there's a couple people I know, I say people, there's a couple faceless fake profiles that have a voice in the community that's been really pushing a lot of that because I used to be with them. And it just makes me think, I've seen more fighting come from that side than the side that wants to do anything. Like the side that wants to make action doesn't actually do the fighting back like they do. It never really created the division. It was really this side that everybody thinks is the good side. And anyway, all I'm saying out loud is I'm gonna keep talking to people like you guys and those that are willing that'll accept my apology, accept my ability to come back, because you're absolutely right, Heather. We got divided. And I saw it coming. They said, no leaders, no this, no politics, none of these rules that were put into place. We can't do this. You can't sue. You can't gather together. I mean, there were so many rules that were just embedded in people's heads and created so much damn fear that it's like, no, I mean, who do you trust, right? I kept talking to people. You called me up. You found my number. I didn't care. I text you guys my number. You text me your numbers back. I'm like, I want to talk to real people.
That is one of the biggest red flags for me is I'll literally send someone my number immediately when I see something and call me. I need to talk to you. Call me. Here's my phone number. I'm hiding in plain sight. I'm right here. I have nothing to hide. I know what I stand for. I know what I bring to the table. I know what I'm about. And it's not solely about me. It's about transparency and it's about change. And it's about what's transpiring is fact that the entire world is being robbed. And, division is the biggest tool that they have used and people can't see it. And that's, if you see on Naked Truth, I put on there on a regular basis when I post things as division is their greatest tool. Division is their greatest tool. Now that's a profile. Twitter is only just a piece of the movement. It's not just AMC. It's not just AID. It's stocks going back all the way to the 90s that they've been doing this with.
And crypto now, apparently, with the stuff we're seeing too, against retail people. Now, I'm so glad that you guys are still around, Heather. I'm so glad that you stuck it out. I'm so glad that you saw it too, the division. I mean, I didn't see it at first, and then I started to see it. That's why I pulled away from most of them and stayed in my channel, my lane, and did what I need to do. And I was a part of that divide. I divided. I really did. I divided some people because I thought that that's what we were doing and what we were supposed to do. Even I, a Marine that's supposed to see everything, and I brag about having the eyes to catch things. But at the time, it's like, man. But yes, the division guys, if you're listening in on us, you're hearing it right here. These folks took the time out. We're down to 3 minutes, but these guys took the time to come on, to share themselves, to open up, to be transparent with you. They've got nothing to hide. The fact that they get on here, and that those people that are hiding, that aren't willing to talk to you, that are staying, hidden. I don't know. I can't trust them anymore. You think you can, but you just can't. But we do need to come together. Folks, I hope you're listening. We need to come together. I don't care what stock you own. I don't care if you're GME or AMC and you think your stock's better. It isn't the point. The point is they're screwing you over. They're screwing retirements over. They're stealing. You just heard it straight from Heather, but you've heard it from Wes, who's been in this business longer than majority of any of us, that knows more than any of these YouTubers or these influencers are talking about. That man has fought people constantly for years. That's his career, about the same stuff that we finally are talking about. I did that interview with the laser guy that's been around since 2001. I've done a couple with him, to hear him speak. He doesn't have anything to do with AMC or GME, but to hear him speak about e-toys and Toys R Us, and just the corruption of how deep this stuff goes. And you guys got to realize that corruption does go deep. But the only way that corruption gets defeated is when we do come together. And I think that's what we need to do. We need to be able to come back together as a community, as a whole. We need to heal from all that division, and we need to realize it is us, the 99%. It's not the individual stock. It's us together, what they're doing for it. So, guys, I thank you so much. We do have 2 minutes. Is there anything you wanted to say, Paul or Heather, to close out? Hopefully, maybe we can talk again. Down the line, we can do some more. I know I'd love to talk to Wes again. I'm really excited to see that space call and hear more about Share Intel. I think there's some value there. I really do. And I think that, that could be something really big that these companies, it shocks me they're not using it more. I'm shocked, but anyway,
they will be moving. Thank you for allowing us to have a voice. Like I said, we've kind of been a neutral with our eyes open and our ears open and just waiting. And like I said, Wes and David will be doing a space call with Paul and I in the near future, and start doing public speaking.
Excellent. I look forward to that.
And
let me know. I'll put it out. I'll push it. Right. Yes, go ahead, Paul.
Oh, just thank you for the time to hear us out and show what we're about. Like I said, we've had over a year to put content and help educate, and hopefully people can see that from the very beginning, our intentions have been true. We've been putting this out there, and hope people will take the time to read it, check it out for themselves, and do their own due diligence before, like you said, believing these Twitter that have no face, no picture, that when you reach out to talk to them, they won't respond. So, hopefully people can put two and two together and see, what's going on there. So thank you for that opportunity.
Yes, Paul. And on your chest right now, it's nakedtruth.info is the website. Is that correct?
Correct. Nakedtruth.info.
Right. Folks, if you're listening in, at least go to the website, see what these guys have to say. Thank you guys so much, and we'll talk soon again.
Thank you.